Everybody, welcome on for another Bluegrass Real Estate Investors Happy Hour. Thank you all that are here for joining. And if you all want to remember that we do have a quick turnaround time on the first, we have at noon a nice presentation with the SBA, Michael over there, who's head of the SBA for our area. I have seen his presentation and you do not want to miss that one, because it is chock full of information. He's a great speaker and stuff as well. So I'll definitely link that in the chat if you want to make sure that you attend that. So I've been talking with Scott. What are you drinking tonight?
Got a little bit of a very cheap Trader Joe's beer over here, the economic class. And then
that's save some money.
Yeah, Joe Markhams, I'm sure, is drinking the bourbon, I would imagine.
Yeah. Four Roses and Mountain Dew. Drinking Kentuckians everywhere.
In Mountain Dew?
Diet Mountain Dew.
Oh, man.
Oh.
Didn't have any
diet.
So.
Yeah, so basically this is just like always really chill. So I know that Scott and I were kind of talking about, he's been getting a lot of mailers from random people. I've only been getting rebuilt ones. Joe, or what mailers are you getting?
Rebuilt mostly, and some other people I didn't recognize. I actually just stuck them in a file over here. A couple of the handwritten yellow paper guys. Actually, I'll go grab those. Most of them were looking for Frankfurt stuff, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, Frankfurt's the market. It seems like constantly anymore.
Had a pretty good deal on that one on Murray today. We actually won and I talked about it, but
yeah, that's actually not a bad one for Allen.
Yeah. For 18 grand, that house, I would have paid that at a different point in my career, but Tony Childress is doing the yellow paper. My son is moving back in 14 years in California. I'm looking to build some small homes near UK. I'm not a realtor, flipper, or wholesaler. But I looked it up and it was like 20 houses. And then Justin Truax left that tucked in a house over on Garrett Avenue. So, and here was the guy in Frankfurt was looking at Centennial, another.
I think I got that one too.
Yeah, Eric True.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then of course I get a stack of rebuilt cards. I could probably wallpaper a room with them right now. They changed up their postcard. They had horses on it for a while. It just says Kentucky.
So what are you guys doing right now? You guys buying? I know you're not selling, but kind of holding. What's the?
We're holding steady right now. We keep considering selling some stuff, but the tax hits and the machinations that go in the 1031 stuff just doesn't appeal to us. So I'm just going to hold and hope that they don't screw everything up by making us a socialist country. But that's the only thing we're worried about is how much longer does this moratorium last, and then what are they going to do, because it can't go on forever. So
with fall, is that what they're thinking now?
That's what I've heard.
I would. And
it's pretty much guaranteed it's going to get extended on before March 31st or whatever, and they're probably going to do another 2 or 3 months, and then that's going to put us in the middle of summer, and then if it doesn't end there, they're not going to put people out in October, November, December. So from what I'm hearing, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Did you guys have anybody late on payments?
Yeah, we got.
You had that one guy or that one family that was just basically you were paying for utilities. Right?
Oh yeah, we got her sorted out finally, and she got Community Action Council help the first go around. They got her caught up, and then she made like 4 or 5 payments herself, and now she's a month behind. She hasn't paid March yet, hadn't paid February yet, and we're getting pretty close to March. So I've sent her the contact information for the Healthy at Home funds, and she's in Lexington, so the renter help, COVIDrenterhelp.org or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's we've got another one that's not a full. They're February haven't paid February yet.
Yeah.
So not too bad. And then Kentucky Life, the property management company, has I think 2 that are not paying right now for us. So we've got 4 total of 52. So which is not good, but it's not horrible. And then our vacancies, we're carrying 3 vacants right now because the turns are just 2 of them were people that had been there forever and it was in horrible shape. And one of them we had just kind of punted. The guy moved out in October, but he'd been there like 10 years. And we had a pipe burst and flood the house in October. So it was a mess. So we kind of backburnered it and ignored it until about a month ago and started in over there. It should be ready to go in March, but it's been empty since November. So
Was that like a full flip?
we gutted a bathroom and we tore out floors that were rotted and just waterlogged because they used the old crappy particle board subfloor stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the kitchen and bathroom had to be totally gutted. So we left the cabinets, but we pulled out the floors and redid the laundry room that was shared a wall with the kitchen and a bathroom. So it's over on Garrett in Lexington and Cardinal Valley.
So I had a tenant.
There you go.
I had a tenant move out after 2 months, which was
that sucks. It's like, well, at least they moved out and didn't try to ride it out for you.
No, it's kind of like I don't know exactly what happened. You never know what the whole story is, but they're supposed to pay the early termination. But I'd much rather keep someone in there. Just after 2 months, they're just like, "No, I'm out," and then they just left. I got a landlord agreement from KU saying that so and so left on February 6th, and I'm like, that doesn't sound at all right, And then, so Kentucky Life once again got in touch with them, and they're like, yeah, that guy we're not sure what's going on with him because it's kind of just a weird situation, and so I really don't know what the situation was other than he decided he wanted to live there. So it's that was the one where the picture of the backsplash. Yeah, that's how I walked in.
Peel and stick backsplash.
I went in there and I was like, I don't remember putting a backsplash on this wall. And I was like, something's not right here. And then it was just like, it's just like finding out you have like termites or something. I was like, this isn't right at all.
You start pulling at the thread on your sweater.
Very much. I was. If you did it right, it actually doesn't look terrible.
The stuff we did in Frankfurt is still up. It's been up 4 years.
Yeah.
And it was literally like 79 cents a panel at Lowe's on clearance. So I was like, well, it's got to look better than
so it's like
drywall job.
Acrylic.
It's literally like
so it's like
peel and stick tile. It's just a little thinner than the peel and stick tile. And the pattern I had was an interwoven, so some of them were shorter and they locked together the joints did. But yeah, it took 30 minutes to put it up, and it cost like $14, I think. Like, it looks better than it did. And it looks a heck of a lot better than it did when we bought it because it was the watermelon house. It had all those like weird colors, and somebody painted the walls pink and the trim like lime green. And it was just a nightmare.
Yeah.
But
that peel and stick tiles really come a long way, I think. Yeah, so it's really good, I think, for rentals, like especially like I probably wouldn't do it on a flip, obviously, but like if you had like a C-class multifamily type thing and you wanted to spice up the kitchen pretty cheap, all day long, peel and stick tile.
What I started doing on the rentals was that it kind of reminds me of like spicing up like a rental, like countertops that are really like cut up, where like they actually use like the countertop as a cutting board. Started using this paint from Lowe's. And it's just like basically just paint the countertops, and it's not a solution, it's if you don't want to replace the actual countertops, but it looks really good. It actually makes like I don't know how it's gonna hold up. We'll find out here shortly, but I thought for a cheap fix, like $30 for the can, a little sweat equity.
Yeah, we had Surface Keepers do one for us where they do the epoxy based stuff.
Mhm.
It's the same kind of stuff that you use on like the garage floors where they come and they put a color coat on and then they put a flake coat and then they put a sealing coat on top of it. And we're, I think 4 or 5 years in on that, and it still looks fine.
Really?
The reason, no chips, no cracks. And it wasn't a great countertop to begin with. The issue was it was a standard run of countertops along the kitchen window with just, like 3 base cabinets. But there was a big island that had a stove, like a cooktop, because it had a separate oven and a cooktop. And the island was enormous and weirdly shaped and had this, contoured profile bevel all around it. And I'm like, we went and priced the countertop for that. And I'm like, no, I'm not paying that for somebody to come in here and set a pot on because it's a stupid countertop with a stove in it, Yeah. So it was like, I think $300 or $400. So it was literally a quarter of the cost that it would have been to replace the countertops. So it looks good. We've never had
We tried that paint countertop. It didn't work out as well. Like, it didn't last long term wise.
Didn't hold up, yeah.
But it could
the paint.
It could have been the product though.
I steered clear of that.
It was okay, like for a while.
Yeah, I saw a big 4 pallets of that at the restore one day, and it was the epoxy countertop paint stuff. So I was like, I wonder why that's at restore. I guess they couldn't sell it or it was crap at Home Depot. So,
we got new people joining us.
Yeah,
Hello.
there's a couple more people there. Hey, how's it going, Jeffrey?
Good. How are you? I'm originally from Nicholasville, and I'm about to move back actually. And I do real estate investment. My dad has maybe 20 single-family homes in around Jessamine County, and I have 5.
It's awesome, man.
Nice.
Is this your first time coming to one of these meetups?
Yeah, it is. I just figured, I'm gonna move. I'm in Chicago right now, and I'm getting, like I said, we just bought a big farm off out in the county, and we're gonna move back and fix up the home. It's a pretty intense rehab. It'll be about 9 months to fix. And yeah, I want to do some real estate investment. So, I figured I should start meeting some Nicholasville or some just Central Kentucky, like-minded folks.
Hey, you need an agent?
I mean, I might.
I'll give you a chance. I'm an agent, so yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm not, so.
So,
I'm
He just
buy and hold. Yeah, buy and hold Central Kentucky.
Yeah, same.
yeah.
So,
Hey, Jeffrey, I ever heard these other 2 guys' stories. So what kind of, tell us about your rentals.
Okay. So my first one was, it's right on the, I think it's right on the, it's off Camp Daniel Boone Road. So it's like right on the river. And it was an absolute practically tear down. We got it for $17,000. I put $6,000 into it. And it helps though, because we have a really good family friend who's a serious business GC. And I've known him for 30 years. Hell, I worked with him when I was in high school, just did construction stuff with him. And he specializes in basically foreclosed horrible homes and fixing them up. And Wayland's Home Repair in Nicholasville. He's really, really talented. And again, he basically just fixed it up, and I've rented that Section 8 since 6 years. That was my first one. And then we just slowly bought some more. Basically, I would probably buy them around 30,000 or less. I mean, we could afford more, but it's just, we could get them really cheap. It's just we had to put a lot more work into them.
Yeah.
And fix them up. And my strategy, my long-term strategy, I would like to do probably about 60% HUD homes, because then it's government guaranteed, and about 40% just kind of market rate. And then I'm looking actually longer term to do either Lexington or maybe Louisville, like an apartment building, like a 15 to 30 unit. Mm-hmm. I've actually got a friend in New York, a really good friend who's a CTO of a big finance firm. He's a GC part-time, if that makes sense. He does flips, but he does New Jersey, $2 million flips. And he's looking to do maybe some syndication deals. So So like longer term, we'll probably be looking to do some syndication, some a little bit bigger, like multifamily stuff, like maybe like a 30, 60 unit kind of thing.
So when are you going to move down here and do the repairs? Is that the plan? Or are you going to do the repairs and then move?
So I'm in the process of getting my house fixed up. I've been in this house here in Chicago for about 7, 8 years, and it's just like little stuff. So I'm getting this house fixed up and put it on the market. But I'm planning on, we're closing Monday on this farm. And I mean, I'll try to give you a really quick rundown, but basically this guy was building this dream home for his wife and him. And it's a big, pretty house, like 6,500 square foot big, 8 bedrooms, huge house.
Yeah.
Finished the outside, really pretty, finished all the framing, everything the inside, did the electric himself, the plumbing himself. And then she got cancer and just like promptly died within 4 months. So he was just like done. He just like rage quit and he just like moved to Lexington. It was just like, I hate this house. Well, I mean, understandable, horrible, but understandable. And it's sat vacant since 98.
Wow.
And so the roof's good. The roof's good. The whole interior is gutted, never been finished. So basically it's some serious work just because it's a really big house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So were there a lot of leaks or anything like,
No, believe it or not, there's 2 big skylights, and it's the only part that leaked. So it's perfect. Like it's good. The only big caveat is it's all wood siding. It's old wood siding. So the siding's all rotted, but that's totally fine. We're gonna replace it with Everlast, like really heavy duty vinyl siding. So yeah, that's gonna be quite a project. We suspect that'll probably take 6 to 9 months. Once that's done, we should ideally be like, we can live with our parents if we want. In the meantime, they have lots of space. So
yeah,
we'll probably halfway, like, I don't know, maybe around June when my wife finishes and gets her master's in social work, we'll probably move back and then just help finish whatever's necessary. I don't know.
You guys have kids?
Yeah, we have a 2.5-year-old daughter.
Yeah. So it's a big house for 3 people, man.
It's a big house. Yeah. Well, our long-term plan is to take care of our family. So.
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
And we'll probably adopt some kids too. So we'll see. But yes, it's a house meant to host people. We'll party. We'll host a lot of parties and dinner stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we're all invited then.
Because, y'all, yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
it sounds like to me.
Yeah, bring some beers. Rest is on me.
Yeah, for those that are coming in now on Facebook, definitely remember to give us a like, add some comments in here. But Vincent on Facebook wants to know, would you buy on the market now? Any guesses on the housing market a year from now? And my response to that is, if you can find the right deal that works for you, definitely you can buy anything on market. And I think the housing market will stay pretty hot for the next several years, especially here in Central Kentucky. So.
There's a shorting of housing. Yeah, or housing.
As cheap
Got
as
no
money
inventory.
is right now. Yeah. Low inventory and cheap money. It's hard to find deals now. So
We raised the rates today a little bit.
did they?
Yeah, just like slightly. I mean, I haven't had a chance. My buddy was texting me, was telling me they raised the rates. I haven't really had a chance to look at it yet. But
We just refied. We built a house 1.5 years ago, and we just refied it. And the appraiser came today, and it's 2.5%. It is ridiculous. So, yeah.
Good for you.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, like I said, I couldn't. We put the feelers out, and the bank that did the construction loan came in, and he's like, "Yeah, we can do 2.5. We just have to have a reappraisal." And I'm like, "Send the guy over." So it's a crazy cheap, in my opinion. So
Yeah, I think now's a great time to refinance. I mean, like Joe said, I mean, the rates are going to stay low in general for quite a long time. Inventory is going to stay extremely low. I'm sure Scott's getting like all the details on that, as the brokerage going over that with you. It's like they just can't build them fast enough, especially around here. So, I mean, good luck finding anything, at a decent price.
And the cost of building materials is just insane right now.
It is.
They're talking lumber prices are going to go up
Texas
another
will make it
15
worse.
to 20. So
Someone posted an article that Texas, the winter basically was going to act as like a hurricane. I thought that was really interesting. I hadn't really thought about it, but it's probably true that a lot of repair stuff and things like that.
So much water damage. Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy. I mean, like a week ago, it was another 3 inches of snow, and it was like 60 degrees yesterday. I mean,
welcome to Kentucky.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's Kentucky weather.
It's like, just wait 10 minutes. If you don't like the weather, it'll change.
Yeah. Vincent said that the rates did go up, stocks dipped, but housing prices tend to rise with inflation. So he can see housing prices continue to rise. I mean, I mean, they're going to go up. I mean, that's just how it is.
And when inflation starts hitting, you want debt, not assets. So a little counterintuitive, but that was something I would have never thought.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, that's exactly what a bond is debt, you know?
Yep. So.
What do y'all do, if you don't mind me asking?
I am recently unemployed.
Okay. By his own choosing.
Yeah, right. I was a network engineer, IT services manager for about 16 years. And then I worked at Lexmark as a customer support rep and technical support engineer, which basically drove around doing installs and sales for about 5 or 6 years before that. But my job was, I got fired December 17th from a company I'd been at about 16 years and was like, all right, guess I'm done with corporate America. So we got my wife quit her job about 5 years ago. And I got shoulder tapped about 18 years ago from Lexmark. And was like, this is never happening again. We need a backup plan B because we both worked at Lexmark. And it's like,
yeah, sure.
Yeah. It's like we both could have gotten shoulder tapped, and then what were we going to do? You know? So we started buying. Our first house was a family house that we bought and rehabbed over the course of 2 years. That was basically a condemned property, and we lived there after we rehabbed it, put an addition, all new electric, new plumbing. You know, turned it into a really nice family home. We were going to live there, and 2 weeks before we were closed on it, that's when I got tapped on the shoulder. So it's like we're trying to close a loan out on, you know, all the work that we've been cash flowing, and just it was a nightmare. So we lived there for about 3 years after that and started buying rental property. So and just buy and hold, you know, we were buying single family stuff when we could afford it. Basically buy hook or buy crook. And then moved to Georgetown and bought a bunch in Lexington, partnered up, bought a bunch more in Lexington, split the partnership, you know, took half, they took half, and we just kept powering through, and we got up, we're at 52 doors right now.
Oh, rock on. Nicely done. How long did that take you?
We bought our first in 2001. So we converted the first one in 2001 into a rental. So we lived there from 99 basically through 2000 and 2001. I got the shoulder tap and told to move on. So it took a while, but it's a plan we've been working for, you know,
good plan.
19 years is buy single family, buy where people want to live. We've tried to steer clear of, you know, super bad, lower than C class, war zone stuff. We've got a few that aren't in great areas in Lexington. And we bought some in Frankfort. Jim and Scott and I all own stuff in Frankfort, in neighborhoods that were traditionally like crap. They were low income housing and they're multifamilies, and they were run by a couple of slumlords. And we went over there, and through force multipliers, we bought 16 doors in one purchase, and Jim bought, I think, 8. You bought like a 4-plex and a 10-plex, and we've got since then we bought, I think, 12 more doors in Frankfurt, in basically the same area, and kind of forced out all of the horrible people that were. It was the guy that we bought ours from was basically, if you showed up with, you know, $400, you could move into one of his units, and then if you didn't pay your $400, he put you out and put the next guy who showed up with $400 in your unit. It was pit bulls staked out in the front yard. The mail service wouldn't run because of the dog crap in the yard. And it was pretty rough. Some of ours over there were pretty rough, and the units were just, he burned the wheels off of them. Nothing ever got fixed. Everything was, you know, half-assed at best. So
that's the best for investor, frankly.
yeah, so we bought them 30 cents on the dollar now. So, it was not a bad deal. And we put
I look at foundations, and foundations basically is the most important thing, I think.
Yeah. So we had that.
Hey, Joe, I got 18 in that area too.
Yeah, AJ, I didn't see it.
Yeah. I lifted that area too.
Yeah. Man, we don't know if you're here or not.
Yeah, let me change this.
There he is.
Yeah, there he is. AJ's over there too. Yeah, so we've probably got, probably 70 or 80 doors over there with what's on the screen right now over there in Landings. So it's not been bad for us. I don't think. I would do it again.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm getting mailers now from people that want to buy a duplex we paid $30,000 for. They're, $150,000 now. It's like, I'm going to keep it and ride out to see what happens. So
I get a lot of those from my Camp Daniel Boone property because it's just like, it's just easy money. I mean, I've got it rented at $950 Section 8, and the tenants are wonderful, and it's been rented since 2015. Like, I'm not going to get rid of it. It paid itself off 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's exactly right. One of the ones we have in a crappy area, Lexington's over in Winburn, but it was a $28,000 duplex that we've owned like 15 years.
Yeah, sure.
It's like, we'll let that thing, my kid can sell it when she's 40,
Yeah. It's good business. Yeah. I think my dad's style, and I try to, I like his model, but his style is basically he mostly does, he doesn't exclusively, he mostly does Section 8 or like VA, which is just, like HUD.
Yeah.
That's primarily what he does. But he will basically go in like in Nicholsville. There's a neighborhood that's pretty low income called Keene, not Lexington Keene, but like Keene in Nicholsville, and it's pretty poor, mostly minorities, and he basically just like fixes the houses up as nice enough to where he would live in, and fixes them up a little bit nicer. Like you could put a Formica countertops in, and every other tenant you're going to replace the countertops, and that's okay. They're cheap. You can put a granite countertop in, unless they are hitting their countertop with a hammer, you're never going to replace it. And so it's just like he'll put a little bit more into it to give it a little bit nicer place, and then just screen the hell out of his tenants. But that's kind of his style, and I like that. It's a little more work, I guess, but up front. But in the long run, you get tenants that don't turn over, so that's kind of what you want, right?
Yeah. Do it right once, or you can do it fast, every 2 years. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Guys, I got to make a phone call. I'll be back in a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So regarding the granite tops, right? We have one of the tenants. They have all the cigarette butts and marks on the countertops. Like you have to there is no way you can recover that. So we replaced it. So that's that depend.
I'm sorry, you're cutting out.
Depending on whom you rent it to.
Yeah.
We had one of the tenants. They had that cigarette. They, every day they go to the restroom and use that cigarette butts on that countertop. So we had to replace that whole thing.
Oh, it sucks. Yeah, that's huge. That sucks. But another thing with Section 8 that's nice though is that if they're really bad tenants and they wreck your place, you can report them to the state and they'll lose their packet. So they're not going to want to lose free money.
Yeah, I think I have around 6 of them.
Yeah,
okay.
We had 13 at one time on various voucher-based programs, and we just got rid of the last 2. For us, if it's not 100% voucher, which down here it's pretty tough to get a 100% voucher, somebody will have a $79 a month rental portion that's tenant responsibility, and to them, $79 is a lot of money. That's a day's work for somebody making $8 an hour. We got tired of chasing that. It was just a hassle.
Yeah, that's fair.
And we had some issues with the pooled resources killed me. But we had 3 tenants. One of them left, didn't tell the Section 8 office, and they continued to pay the rent as if the tenant was there because we didn't know they worked there, and Section 8 didn't know they worked there for almost 3 months. And then on month 4, the tenant informed them that they left the house 4 months ago, So Section 8 took by, they didn't pay the other two tenants rent because they had overpaid according to them. And I had no recourse. So I literally lost, money that I'd already thought I had been paid because, I didn't know they weren't in the house. And then I lost 2 additional months of rent from tenants through no fault of their own or my own, but I was still out the money. So that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Like that was, we just served notice for non-renewals and got them out at the end of the year because they were on a month-to-month lease. I'm like, I'm done with Section 8.
That's fair.
But up until that point,
Joe,
both those tenants,
Joe, I have a question. So if your Section 8 is month to month and they say like, we left the unit 2 months ago, so you had to repay the 2 months?
They kept it from the payment for the other 2 tenants.
Okay.
Now, if you only had one property and you've been paid that month, those 2 months rent.
Yeah.
They have direct deposit in our bank accounts. I don't know if they would have been able to debit the accounts because it's my understanding that they can't do that. They only have deposit access because it's a deposit only account. But I don't know that I wouldn't have gotten a bill from them or something, untowards. But it was just like, how am I being held responsible? Because those people were in that unit as far as I know. The utilities never kicked over into my name because we've got landlord agreements and all of our stuff. So they just basically just took, $3,600 directly from my account, essentially by not paying tenant rent for the unit that had no involvement in the issue.
Okay. If you had like 6-month lease with them or 12-month lease, then they cannot take it back, right?
I wouldn't put it past them because they're a government entity and they pretty much do whatever they think they want to do. They're supposed to be the reason that I was able to get them out was because they never renewed their lease.
Month to month.
So they were on a month-to-month contract, and I looked through the portal, and I was like, "You guys don't have a lease. You guys are on a month-to-month where it's called the Universal Landlord Tenant Act or whatever, URTLA in Kentucky, and it automatically goes to a month-to-month in like 90% of the state if you don't renew." And they hadn't renewed their lease. And one of the tenants had been there for 10 years. And the other one had been there for, I think, almost 8. So they were long-term tenants. And we didn't really have any issues with them. One of them was 100% the whole time. They had their rent paid by Section 8 for 10 years, literally. And then the other one would get a job and work for a few months, and they would, her voucher would skew. So she would owe $29 for the next 6 months, and because they do periodic reviews, and then that was just a hassle because then she would quit her job, and then they would have to do another review. She'd request a review of income, and then she'd pay $0 for 4 months, and then she'd get a job, and she'd be responsible for $79 a month. So it was just this kind of constant, And then she was one of the ones I actually had filed an eviction on because she owed like $380, and I'm like, I will fight you for $380 at this point because I'm ticked off because, every 3 months I'm getting a new rent amount from you and you're not making your payments. And, it's not worth the hassle for me to fight it. So, but that settled out. That was 3 or 4 years ago. And then she became a regular payer. And once we literally took her to court. She showed up to court and we went to the mediation room and she wrote a, check. And the judge put a stay on the eviction and check cleared. And I told her that we're good. And she stayed for another 3 or 4 years and never had another payment issue. It cost me $187.50 or whatever to make $380, but he got the point across. So
I was just in court for an eviction literally Wednesday.
Yeah. Did you win? Was it a non-payment?
So I'm going to win. So it was non-payment, and I was serious about it. And this is not a Section 8 property, but what I want to do is I want to do a massive rehab on the property anyway. So I want them, and they haven't paid. They owe me about $4,500. It's pretty serious. And so there's that. They just had that. There's a Kentucky fund that just got I guess, replenished from the Fed or whatever to,
Yeah.
pay.
15th, yeah.
And so what I'm going to do is, and so we went to the judge and she was like, did you file this paperwork? Yes. Okay. I can't kick you out for non-payment because of CDC stuff till June, which is batshit insane.
Yeah,
And
that's going to get extended too. I wouldn't count on June. So.
yeah, but the beauty of it is they're on a month to month because they never gave me the lease, and there wasn't, I don't think, a lease before I purchased the property. I purchased the property in like August, and so I'm going to let the state. I just filled out the W-4, and I'm going to let the state actually repay me for all the missed rent, and then I'm going to file an eviction for a 30-day because it's month to month. So
pay attention to that, because part of that settlement fund is you agree to not file any evictions for, I think it's 60 or 90 days after the payment.
Okay.
For
45 days.
Is it 45 days? Okay.
45.
Yeah. So there are some strings that go along with that money, taking the Healthy at Home funds.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
You can't take back fees, late fees, or processing fees, or any of that stuff. It specifically is for rent only. So if you have anything in your lease about a per diem,
we don't have a lease.
Yeah. So I would just if you can get the money, and are they still requiring the 10% reduction in the amount owed? Does anybody know, Jim? Are you?
I don't know.
Yes, to 10%.
They are not.
I don't think so.
Okay. The first round you had to take you could only
Yeah.
take 90%. They made you take a 10% reduction in the amount. I had 2 people go through the first batch that got funds, and then I've got 2 people that we're trying to get pushed through right now. I just haven't looked into it. But
Yeah, that opened up February the 15th.
It outlines it on the website too, like any of the regulations. It has like a nice little bullet point of all the different things for tenant versus landlord side of that. So whenever you're filling it out anyway, you're going to see that on their website for that. For those that are watching, as a reminder on Facebook, definitely drop a comment or give us a like. Titus on Facebook wants to know, what do you think about the future of student living? What's that going to look like? And Titus, honestly, student housing, if you're looking into that, I think you're going to be okay. I mean, at the end of the day, people go to college to learn, but they're also there to have an experience, and they can't do that online. Now, maybe UK or like other colleges might open up more online learning and maybe can get more tuition out of people. But at the end of the day, there's going to be people that want to come and stay as an experience of college. And I think if you wanted to get into student rental, you would be perfectly fine to do so. Anybody else?
yeah, I know we've never fooled with student housing.
Yeah, I haven't either. I didn't realize I was on camera the whole time I made that phone call.
Pantomiming.
I had no idea. Just looked at the the app, and I was just like, oh wait, hold on a second here. No, with student housing, I mean, there's always going to be UK students. It's like even like during the pandemic, I wasn't really worried about student housing because like UK folds, there's other issues going on in the world, and so like as long as UK's there, I think the student housing will be strong. I do think they're building a lot of big apartments downtown, like large, like things for students. And so you're going to see a lot of these smaller mom and pop places not get pushed out. There'll always be that need for housing, but there's going to be like the high end stuff. And I think there'll be like the smaller places, like, the threeplexes, like 4 bedrooms that are living together,
like Maxwell
that might not have as much value. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Who's got the mic on in the background?
I don't know. Good question. I don't see it coming on there.
Either.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, though, what are you doing, Scott? I know you didn't do kind of an intro.
Yeah. Thank you. More of the same. I'm always looking. Inventory's kind of low right now. It doesn't mean that deals can't be found. It's just tough. I'm finding a lot of the multifamily, anything like duplexes, triplexes, anything under 150 is just getting crushed. I mean, just bid up, and it's a lot of the first-time home buyers are buying those. It's really tough for investors to get in right now because there's ratios where, investors can actually make a profit, but first-time home buyers can go in, house hack it, and they're like, I don't care, man, I'll pay 10, 15,000 over and so that's tough in that market. I'm thinking for investors right now, it's either you have to kind of scale, get fourplexes or above, or just be prepared to pay more for a duplex or any type of multi-housing, at least for right now. I mean, it's just kind of the way the market is. So.
Yeah, I know that, Scott, you've been trying to buy those apartments over there on Alexandria. Been talking to my syndication guys from what I hear through the grapevine. Trying to run me out of a job.
You knew about that, huh?
I hear things, man. I hear things.
Yeah. I'm always trying to buy apartments, man.
Carl Lindell's got a
I've been
fourplex
trying
for
to get
sale.
them to AJ for months now.
Do you own apartment buildings now, Scott?
No, all my stuff is 4 or below. So
Okay.
I have clients such as AJ who I've been trying to find stuff for larger kind of scale, because it's like you reach that certain point, and then it's the larger units in Lexington, or especially in the surrounding areas. There's still stuff out there. It's just harder to find. I find a lot of stuff off market, and then
Sure.
That's the good thing. But the bad thing is that it's mom and pop who think their place is worth $3 million and it's worth
Right.
$5. And so it's kind of tough to find those deals. And a lot of Lexington, honestly, is kind of picked over. And so it's trying to find really that diamond in the rough.
So what do you do with the money?
With what?
How would you best invest money? Because I'm not finding anything right now.
It's tough right now. I mean, I wish I had an answer. I mean, the deals are kind of few and far between.
Isaacs Vanguard.
Yeah, well.
AJ's really big on GameStop right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little late on that one.
I'm looking outside Lexington, actually. I think there's opportunities outside Lexington.
Chester.
It's kind of weird with these meetings. I feel like it's a double-edged sword where, 3 of 4 Frankfurt investors. I don't want to reveal things, but I think the bag.
Shoving you guys over to Winchester. Come on.
Yeah.
I don't have anything in Lexington, so I'm all outside Lexington.
Where are you
your
at,
stuff?
Bill?
Georgetown, Harrison County, Bourbon, Nicholas, Scott.
I actually live in Georgetown. And
I'm in Georgetown right now.
Good deal.
That's where I live. So
Good deal.
58 doors and trying to get more, but I'm not finding anything. So
Nice.
not at least not the 30 cents on the dollar.
That's right. That's
I mean, you can.
That's how
You can spend your
we
money.
ended up in Frankfurt was we couldn't afford Georgetown and Lexington anymore, so we ended up in Frankfurt. So
Yeah, I've been contemplating just paying them off. I guess I don't know. So,
Yeah.
Did you guys see the Frankfurt ones? The 135,000 a door. That one is under contract already, and there's a new one.
Yeah, it's like the 12 units.
Is it 12? Yeah, I think it's 12. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. These are 8. 8 units. Triple trial.
Damn.
Those are 135 a door, and that's under contract. And there's a new one on the west side that's 125 a door. And then there is one beds. They're asking 3.2 million for 132 doors. 25 a door, but it's really rough. I mean, by the time you flip one door, the next door is vacant, and you have to spend 6 months of the rent on it to fix it. Yeah, those are the two. The 125 per door, which is on market right now, 10 units, 6plex and a 4plex. That's a nice area. That's good, but I mean, 125 is, yeah, it's too much asking.
I think it's still going to be pretty crazy all throughout the summer, honestly. I mean, unless there's something that shifts the market and just adjust the prices, but I kind of foresee it. I mean, we're only going into March and still fever pitch right now. So, I mean, I wish I could say hey, we're going to get some crazy deals coming up. But I don't know if that's necessarily the case immediately. I think investors are going to have to be creative in the way they approach this summer You know, obviously things slow down in the fall, but I think things are kind of going to stay pretty hot. I don't really see any indications that they're going to slow down, which is, you know, honestly, good time to sell. Call Scott Pease. He wants to sell your units and get you top dollar on the MLS. But as far as buying, I don't know. I mean, it's tough.
You said
Buying
you
is
get
what works, right?
I'm sorry.
You said you look for off-market deals. Do you just have, you know, fellow agents that you do like pocket listings, or you just do mailers, or
just talking to these folks?
Okay.
I mean, I mean,
yeah, that's a good way to do it. That's
Yeah.
why I was joining the group early before I moved home.
yeah, no, that's a great way to do it. I mean, like I have like several, I mean, like 7 or 8 pocket deals, but you know, like they're just, some of them aren't great deals. Honestly, they're not.
Yeah,
you know.
sure.
They're just, they need some work, and there's some that are just, they needs to be right buyer. It kind of all depends on what everyone's looking for. You know, I mean, some people are looking like, I've got 1031, I need to buy something right now.
Yeah,
I don't
sure,
care, you know. Or then other people are like, I need to get, you know, everything for like the 1% rule, and then, you know, it just kind of depends what they're looking for.
Yep.
So.
Did
Yeah,
any
and
of you guys buy Alan's deal over on Murray, or was that somebody outside?
Wasn't me. I thought about it. That was actually a really sweet one. I like that area down there.
Yeah,
Like I really
that
do.
would have been a good. We looked at it. Dewan and I thought about it and talked about it, but I'm just so hesitant right now to put more money in right now. It's like, I don't know. It's the location, like I said, we own right across the street. We've got a triplex right across the street, and it's literally, you can step out the street and see the Capitol. So
Nice.
the location was good. It would have been a good Airbnb. I thought Jim might have bought that one. Airbnb.
See, that's the thing. So like I thought about it. Like it's just that area to me for Airbnb just isn't quite there. Like it's still a little run
Still
down.
sketchy. That's my guys that are
it's still,
run down.
it's still got that little bit of shade on it.
That's what they want. They
our
want
Airbnb
character and experiences, right? You know.
Yeah, that one doesn't have enough character though to me. Like you could spice it up. And there's a couple of people that have moved into that area that have like done 1 or 2, but they haven't done this higher end like bit of it. It's just like coat of paint on the outside and refresh it a little bit more for rental standards. Like if like single family home people moved in there, or like Danny went a couple streets down that way, you know, and had like art sculptures and stuff. I'd be all in on that one.
Yeah.
In
Yeah,
Chicago,
but
they
like-
say there's
Yeah. Who bought that one on Capitol that was out there as the duplex with the weird detached unit? Do you know? It was probably 6 or 8 months ago. It came through as a wholesale deal.
I think that if I remember right, that sold for a decent amount too.
Yeah, that's why I was curious. So I don't know what
of it.
happened. Yeah, if it was an owner occupant or if it was somebody looking at a investment property. So I'll look it up.
How are your Airbnbs doing?
My Airbnbs?
Or just
yeah, they're doing pretty good. I mean, like with anything else, they went down with the COVID and stuff like that. And actually, to bring that up, so like whenever we do go back to in-person meetings, so keep an eye out. We're gonna try, I think, to pick up where we left off, and we were gonna do the Airbnb meeting. So I want that one to be like the first one back, because I think that would be a good one to like kind of revisit, considering everything that's happened and stuff, and include people in on what's happened there, because we were going to be the case study for that. And I was going to share a solid year's worth of data for that. So now it'd be interesting to share that year's worth of data from 2020 and see that nice little dip that happened.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, like Airbnb though, for us, was a little bit different than some people's Airbnbs. Like if you had something rural, Red River Gorge stuff, you were fine. Like it actually went up some. So we were more rural, you know, and targeted more capital workers, Bourbon Trail. And when those things shut down, people work virtually or they're not traveling for work and stuff like that. I saw a huge dip. However, it's recovered pretty good. We still get bookings and stuff right now. I actually have it offline for this week while we put in a new retaining wall at the back of the property. But other than that, I'm staying pretty booked overall. Like if I'm above 50% occupancy right now for the month, I'm pretty happy. And I think that's pretty solid. Like I fully expect it to come back. And actually what we're focusing on for 2021 is that we want to double down on the short-term rental.
I agree with that. Yep. I
What
absolutely
I
agree.
want to do is more like a boutique hotel type experience. So if we could find like some single family homes, control a corner, control a lot, find like an old motel, that's run down or something like that, and kind of turn it back around and do it as more of a short-term rental type basis. That's something that we're looking for and pounding the streets for, I think, for this year. I'd really like to pull that off and kind of get that done before the end of the year. But we did buy like a 10 unit over there and old landings and stuff like that too. So I got to focus on that right now, but I don't think that'll be too bad of a project. So got to control my area,
Yeah. I think that I think COVID was actually the best thing that could ever happen to Airbnbs, just because initially it killed the market, but it killed the market everywhere, and that people don't necessarily want to stay in hotels anymore, because if it'll take a while for people to forget COVID, but right now they don't necessarily want to be around a bunch of people in a hotel. And that I think they also do feel comfortable going out. You know what? I will stay in an Airbnb for the night, because they have some protocol where someone didn't stay there the night before. And that mentality is going to stick with them for a while. And so I do think the Airbnb is a market that will come back really, really strong. And I think hotels, they'll eventually come back and people, go back to normal. But I think that Airbnb is a really unique market right now.
Yeah, I think it's going to rocket back up. Like once these kind of vaccines start going through late spring, early summer, all the way into fall, I fully expect I'm going to be booked pretty solid. But we took that time during the downtime to do some CapEx expenses. So like I did like a full deck on the front of the property and stuff too, covered deck, all that type of stuff that it probably needed anyway for a long time, just to kind of spice it up. So because I have kind of smaller properties, so the living space on the inside is kind of tight, which is fine for short-term rental. But if I built out a huge deck on the front of the property, so when it's nice out in the summer and stuff like that, it kind of expands that living space and kind of gives people a more unique experience and stuff. And I got a good view, of the city and everything up there too. So when people can kind of sit out on the porch, drink a glass of bourbon after they've already toured their places, meet their neighbors, stuff like that, I think it'll be a nice experience. And we're already getting people even now commenting on how nice the deck is and stuff. So that value for money is really critical for short-term rental. Did have Vincent on here on Facebook. He said, what do you think about wholesaling in the current market? I can see less sellers using it because how hot the market is, but more buyers' interest as well because deals are harder to find. And I would totally agree with that, Vincent. So wholesaling to me is always a tough game to play. You got good ones out there and you got bad ones. I think a lot of people say they're wholesalers but have never done a deal, and I don't want to harp on those people too much. But
right,
if sellers can sell stuff, for top dollar, get people like Scott, to list it for them and stuff like that, it might be less appealing. But usually wholesalers are targeting properties that need a lot of work, and a lot of those people, mom and pop people, or people that have had vacant property for so long, Scott's probably used to this, you're going to want to do certain things to the property to make it sell. Now in a hotter market, maybe you have to do less of those things. So you might see a little bit decrease, but at the end of the day, if you're a good wholesaler and you find a good deal and you negotiate it and you're actually right on your numbers, you should have no problem unloading anything, because there's plenty of buyers out there that want to swipe up a good property, like the one we were just talking about in Frankfurt. It's no problem, done. So if you're good at it, you'll be fine.
May I ask how all y'all do rehabs, like maintenance? I personally know a really good GC in Nicholasville. I'm just curious how y'all do it, because I'm still relatively new to this. Obviously, I've only got 5 doors.
I don't do anything. I'm totally hands off. I'll let the property manager handle most of that.
I'm trying to be hands off, which is really, really hard. Like I was up there on Tuesday and I was flipping it. And in theory, it's like 4-hour work week where I understand the principles why I should not be doing this, but I have a hard time just like, you know, I mean, I got a really good management company, but I can't let it go for some reason. I think, Joe, you still flip some of your stuff, right?
I haven't done anything in the last probably year and a half.
No, good for you, man.
I got a couple of guys that I pay between 15 and $25 an hour.
Yeah.
That are mostly skilled labor. And then we've got an electrician and a plumber that I can call that I know aren't going to screw me on big things. And then we let the, you know, pay the guys their 40-hour, you know, $40 an hour a day and get, you know, a couple $100, $300 a day and just let it run.
Yeah.
And it's just part of the doing business. We started out 100% of the stuff was my wife and I when we first, the first 8 properties. We literally, you know, paint, plumbing, electric, whatever it was. If we didn't know how to do it, we talked to her dad and figured it out. And it's just hard at this, you know, I literally worked until December 17th. I had a 40-hour a week, you know, job. And so did she until 5 years ago, she retired. So we just didn't have the bandwidth to do it. So we've used every crappy Craigslist contractor that you can think of and have been burned multiple times. And the reason we're using the guy that we're using right now is because he hasn't screwed us yet.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
So that's basically where we are. Now that I have some more time on my hands, once the weather turns and, you know, I'm not worried about trying to get back up my driveway because of the sheet of ice on it, I'll probably take on some of the stuff that I don't mind doing. You know?
Okay.
I'll still let the guys do the muck outs and the clean outs. And then when it comes to doing, you know, LVP, I've laid 50,000 square feet of flooring myself. So we can do that and we can paint and not pay, you know, if that comes down to it. And look to that as me replacing my salary with sweat equity, essentially, even though it's not a direct, you know, trade. But it's a lot more freeing to think, you know, I don't have to be in an office somewhere. 5 days a week.
So it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny, Joe. You said you were basically a network engineer.
Yeah.
So I'm a Linux systems engineer, but I write software primarily. I'm a Linux sysadmin. That's my
okay.
You know what I do.
Title.
Yeah. But like primarily I just write software for a big finance firm here in Chicago, and they're gonna let me work remote from Kentucky. It's gonna be great.
Awesome.
But the problem is that I work a lot, and you know I'm obviously like I would like to get to the point where I need 2 or 3 crews. Like that's a good problem to have if I can pull it off. And I mean I'm just starting out, but I'd like to think, you know, maybe I can work a system. I can learn, you know, from you guys and just from experience, just doing it, learn a system where I'll probably need a few crews.
There are definitely some good contractors in the group. We do try to kind of weed out the bad contractors. If
I noticed that
somebody burns somebody in the group, they're gone.
Sure.
Usually, but it's tough because they're, you know, as contractors start to make more money, shitty contractors start to come out of the woodwork.
Sure.
You know, there's been some threads going around, some memes about, you know, the jack of all trades, master of none stuff. And that's true. You know, if the guy says on his business card, he can, you know, do your landscaping, your roofing, plumb your house, and then, you know, set a new electric service for you, that guy's probably not who you want to be dealing with. But yeah, it takes a while to find somebody. And then even then you've still got to manage those people. And that does take some effort and time.
Yeah.
But,
I only use the same 6 or 7 people over and over again.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like Jim
once you
said,
got your system, you don't want to mix it up too much.
Yeah. And that's what we did. You know, we've had a couple of contractors that were great for 2 or 3 years, and then something happens and they're no longer great. You know, they stop showing up for the job. You start getting these bills. It's like, why are you charging $800 to paint 2 rooms and lay a bathroom floor? You know, that was something you charged $350 for 6 months ago. And then you go over there and look, and it's like, well, the floor's not even laid, and only one of the rooms is painted. You know, so either they are hiring guys and they scaled too fast, and now they're using crappy $10 an hour Craigslist contractors themselves, and they're just trying to be a GC, which was what one of them had happen, or they're back in drinking or using pills or something like that. We've had, you know, those kind of things happen too. So we try to stay on top of stuff, but you know, said, we let a project sit for 5 months because we just didn't, I didn't have the desire. So I was still working, and I had things that, you got to go for the low hanging fruit. It's like, this is going to be I'm going to gut this house down to the subfloor and gut the bathroom. And it's going to take, a month to do that. Or I've got a house that needs paint and flooring and I can get it back on the rent roll in a week. Then it's like, as those week projects came up, it was like, okay, go do this one. Okay, now that's finished. We got it back on the rent roll. Now let's go do this one that just went vacant. And so that one just sat, until we got around to it.
Sure.
So that's of all the stuff, finding the deals and then finding contractors that are dependable are the two hardest things.
Yeah, it's about 50-50.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's the same thing for me too. Like, like Joe mentioned, every 1.5, 2 years, whoever your top contractor that you're working with or the top handyman that you're working with, either they leave or screw you or something will happen. But to me, putting systems in place, right? So the plumber, I just give it to the whitehead. I know there's charge extra, but for plumbing, you just give it to the licensed plumbing company. For electric, same thing. Appliances, roofing. I mean, you have the general contractors for each and every small jobs. So do that, and then have a couple of reliable handymans. That's how I do it. But like Joe mentioned, we used to have a cleaning lady. She did fantastic, $120 to clean the unit. But sometimes she says like, yeah, everything is done. And when you go visit it, nothing's done. Like, yeah.
I had a HVAC guy that was just like that. He put in 3 systems for me, and the last 2 systems he put in, it's like it was going to emergency heat, and it's like, this has been installed for 1 month. This isn't a problem with the system. It's the problem with the way you installed it, and it's just, yeah, it's not been great.
We had an issue like that where we put a heat pump in a house, and Kentucky heat pumps fine 95% of the time, and then the 5 days out of the year it gets to -2 degrees, it kicks over to emergency heat. So the first season we had 0 issues at all. It ran fine. And then the next season, the polar vortex hit, and we, everything in Kentucky froze solid for 2 weeks a few years ago.
Yeah.
And that heat pump was on emergency heat the whole time, and it still wasn't able to keep up with the house. It was still like 65 in the house. So we send our, it was Craigslist contractor, of course, so we had found him, and I bought the unit directly, and he did the install on it, and it worked fine for a year. I didn't think anything else about it until we sent our actual real HVAC company over in the middle of the polar vortex, and we found out that of the 2 heat strips that are in the unit, one of them wasn't even hooked up. So instead of putting out 10 kilowatts of heat, it was putting out 5, and it's like, it just couldn't keep up. So it cost us a $189 service charge, and the guy went and plugged it in. It was like, yeah, it's done. So
that sucks.
And they were warm and toasty at 71 an hour later. So that was one that was kind of a bullet dodge, because I reached out to the guy that did the install, of course, and his phone didn't work and his email bounced, and it's like, great, I guess we're not going to be using this guy again. So.
The cold is always fun though, right? So I had a tenant that called me 2 weeks ago, and she said, my unit is freezing and my floor is warm. Can you send someone out to help? Sure. So I sent my guy out, and sure enough, the floor is nice and warm, and the house is freezing cold. And of course he goes to crawl space, and he's like, uh-oh, the crawl space is open. Well, there's a family of raccoons and 2 cats. And so those asshole raccoons, as raccoons do, had basically shredded all of the ducting. Yeah, exactly. And the cats climbed up in it and shit in it and peed in it.
It's a great litter box down here.
So my contractor's like, you owe me extra, because I literally crawled through shit. not just like normal shit, like warm shit.
Yeah.
And he said his whole crew, he had to send them home early to the shower. I was like, oh, that's pretty bad. So he had to basically replace all that.
Yeah.
Guys, I hate to do this. I got to get out of here. Great to see you all again.
All right. See you,
Yeah.
Scott.
See you all. Have a great night. See you all next meeting.
Yep. Don't forget, for those people that are here on the 1st, noon, Monday noon, SBA. Definitely make sure you come to that. Michael's going to do a great job. And we have Jennifer on as well, but just in time bookkeeping. That's going to fill in for all the CPA questions and stuff too. But yeah, Joe, I got me another one over there. Centennial.
Awesome.
Yeah. Pretty much the nicest one in the neighborhood. Just
That's
saying.
what I was gonna say. I think it was one of the nicer ones, wasn't it? So if you
Jim, did
close
you
on
get the
it,
Centennial?
Yeah, it's the one in the corner. One that's like American Way. Centennial, it's like right in the corner.
Okay. Well,
But that's what I
what about the landings?
1031.
Did you get those? Did you get that landing ones?
The
What is
wholesale
it?
ones?
Yeah, the wholesale one.
No, that's way too expensive.
yeah, that guy's
Yeah.
crazy. Like I said, if those move at that price, I'm sticking signs in the yard.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's how we
Like,
ended up
I
building a
will
house.
unload everything.
Yeah, we were in a house here in Georgetown, and a house in our neighborhood sold. And I'm like, wow. I didn't think it was going to sell, and it sold for like, $100,000 more than I thought it was worth, and it was on the market for like 2 days. So I'm like, well, I guess we should probably sell this house if we're ever going to sell this house and build something. So that's what we did.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take like a harder look. I've been trying really hard to find something in Winchester. I think Winchester is the next one.
I honestly,
Like, it's
man, I
got
told you.
all the same sides. Yeah.
I really, we got one in Winchester, and it's been an excellent performer. And we had zero issues with it. It's just a pain in the ass for me to get to. And it's because I live on, the far western side of Scott County. So I have to drive all the way across Scott County, all the way across Fayette County, and then all the way into Winchester. And I was doing, at the time, work myself and self-managing, and it was just a pain. I don't want to drive 45 or 50 minutes work and then drive back 45 or 50 minutes. It was just too much with a regular job. So Frankfurt was a much better fit logistically, and we've been happy there. So
Yeah, I love Frankfurt. I'm not dipping on Frankfurt like anytime soon either, but it's just Winchester, starting to look a little more appealing. I think it's going to be like the next market. I just cannot find any small multifamilies there that aren't like single family homes that have been broke up all weird.
It's the same thing in Georgetown. There is no small multifamily in Georgetown. Everything is either, a 20 plus unit apartment complex that was part of a subdivision build out where they built those, the apartments in the front and then the houses in the back. But there are no 4, 6, 8, 10 plexes in Georgetown, Scott County. It was just a tiny county. Toyota came and it all just went, and they build giant apartment complexes now. So.
Yeah, I got Steven on Facebook who wants to know, he's from E-Town, if we plan on doing any live events planned in the near future. I did touch on that a little bit at the beginning. Not any immediate plans, but we'll kind of play it by ear. It's going to depend a lot on like the restrictions being lifted, vaccine rollout, all that type of stuff, but definitely stay tuned for that. We're doing the Zoom meetings right now, but you'll definitely have plenty of notice, Stephen, before that. And I would wager that we're going to pick up with the short-term rental and Airbnb. So you're going to have plenty of notice for that. Just watch the page and keep checking on the events, and definitely come to the meetings that are online as well. And you're going to get well informed on when those are going to be. But I would say that's going to be still quite a little bit ways away though for you, for anything in person. And there's Jamie.
Hey guys, sorry, I was driving back from a basketball game in Cynthiana. So I was, who's yelling? I was in a Cynthiana for a basketball game, and I turned you guys on Facebook from like Paris, and could only like watch from Facebook. So I was just kind of listening to everything. So now I'm home and I'm on my Zoom. So there you go. So
Yeah.
I
You
was
got
just
the
kind
drink
of,
too.
I was kind of listening in on all the info. I do. I've got my port. I have probably drank since COVID started 3 cases of probably like 6 cases. It's like I drink just a skosh every night. It's Taylor Port. It's $5.99 at Kroger, FYI. So I am a big spender. But
Nice.
anyway, what's going on? I was listening in. I know the market's tight. We know this, but there's some stuff out there. We've been buying in Louisville the last year, actually. So that we have.
You guys doing single family there, or are you looking at?
Yeah, we bought. Well, what happened was, with Lexington, like I was listening to you guys. Well, we've always owned stuff in Louisville. We have a property manager there, and he does our renovations too. And so we've always had stuff in Louisville, and we lived there, 10 years ago, whatever. And we've just found stuff in Louisville deals, like there's just more $50,000 stuff there that's rentable. We did buy most of them. I'm looking at I make my little list every year. I track. We did buy about a fourplex about a year ago in Louisville, and then the rest were singles. We bought 8 singles last year, and then this year we bought 3 in Louisville already. Singles, just stuff that just popped up available. Like, honestly, we didn't buy anything for like the first 6 months of last year. And then the last 6 months, we bought like 8. All of a sudden, some stuff just popped up. And, Joe's like, let's buy this. Let's buy this. I'm like, okay. So anyway, yeah. So Louisville's good. I've heard Frankfurt's good though. Like I've got a guy that I'm kind of helping mentoring a little bit. And he's buying stuff in Frankfurt.
Yeah, Jen,
sounds like there's some opportunity
AJ
there.
And I and Scott are all in Frankfurt. We've all got multiples up there. It's been good for us. There's seems to be more of the small multifamily stuff in price ranges we could afford.
Yeah.
So that's where we went when we got priced out of Lexington and Georgetown. So. Yeah,
I mean Lexington's it's just hard to, and the deals get snapped up in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Like we like to look at stuff, you know what I mean? Like I'm not like, oh, it's on Facebook, I'm gonna buy it, and I know people are doing that, which is fine, but I mean stuff sells so quick. It's like 18 minutes later, okay, it's sold.
Yeah.
It's almost the same in Frankfurt now.
Yeah.
The 10plex that came, that's gone quick. Even that 135 door that we were discussing, that's gone, I think 3 days it's under contract.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, they're moving quick in Frankfurt.
Are the renters in Frankfurt, do you get a lot of people that are working at the Capitol, or is it, where do what are these people? They just live there, they work where? Lexington, Louisville? Who are the people?
We've got property management in place. I don't even know the names of our tenants in Frankfurt, so I don't know. We get a summary email from Kentucky Life that's basically, this guy works at blah or that kind of stuff, or they've been here for X number of years. But in general, I think it's just people, if they don't work in Lexington, I think the commute's too long for Lexington. But we do have some that work in Georgetown because Frankfurt is an easy commute to Georgetown.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yes, same thing for me. Same thing like Joe. Property manager takes care of it. I think I have 50 doors and probably 1 work for state. That's it, and rest 49 are, like Joe mentioned, Georgetown. A lot of people commute to Georgetown from here. Because rent is a little cheaper. But just 1 guy from 50 doors is state. That's it.
Works for the state. So that's not a big draw. Most people, I guess, they, the actual senators and representatives, they live in their home city and then they just drive in for sessions and things. What was I going to ask? I was going to ask another question.
That might be a skewed perspective too, because I think we're all multifamily stuff in Frankfurt, and most of it is low to mid income. So I don't have any single family homes in Frankfurt. I don't know if that would be a different subset of renters. Like it might be, the aides or whoever works in the state government might be more likely to rent single family stuff. But most of what we own is in a lower income, like fourplexes and triplexes kind of stuff in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
The majority of people in Frankfurt do work for the government, and they're going to work in the service industry. Are probably the two main players on that. I mean, I have several people that work in the government, but like you said, when you're talking about like senator, like higher up in politics, they're not living in the multifamily, but there's plenty of people that work in government that aren't those higher up people too, secretary, janitorial, the transportation cabinet, all those types of things too. So you're going to get, to me, I think still, AJ might be the outlier maybe on that, that still work for the government. I think too, though, especially service industry. That'd be my top two probably, though.
Yeah. I just pulled up my spreadsheet here, the people in Frankfurt. I've got two that are Toyota people, and one.
Yeah, Toyota's a big one.
Yokohama Nitro, which is an automotive thing. And then one was a farmhand, and one works at Southern Electric and Water, which I don't even know where that's at. So, but that's just the ones that Kentucky Life has placed.
Is Kentucky Life doing all your stuff now, Joe?
They've got probably about 70% of the portfolio. When COVID hit, they had always had our Frankfurt stuff, the multifamily, because I just didn't have bandwidth to stay on top of the tenant placements and turns and all that stuff while I was still working. So we just turned over the Frankfurt portfolio to them wholesale about a year and a half ago. And then as COVID hit, I've been bleeding off single family rentals to them too. So they now have got all of our stuff in Frankfurt and 10 of our other doors that are single family in Lexington and Georgetown. And basically we just factored in their expenses, whatever it costs, their property management fees and a little bit of padding. And if we can get a rent increase of that percentage or more, we just turn it over. And it's been good for us.
Good.
We've had good interactions with them. We still take care of the turns for the most part because I can still shave some off of retail by managing a couple of guys that I've got that I can have do the work on an hourly basis or a per job basis. But their quotes are still market rate. We had a hot water heater die in one of our single families Monday, and their quote was $1,050 to replace it, and my plumber said it's $1,000, and I'm like,
it was the same basically.
It was literally the same price. So it was just an access. I called my guy, and he said, "Is there, the people in there, or is it empty?" And I'm like, "Well, they moved in," and he's like, "If you want to have your Kentucky Life do it, or you want me to do it," so I just told him to go over and do it because he'd already called the tenant and it's scheduled. So yeah.
Well, I like those guys. Heath and Josh are great. So, because we did some Airbnb with them. We did one Airbnb with them for a while. That's good. So mainly what they're doing is tenant placement and then things that happen while the tenant's there.
Yeah.
And you're doing the turn.
And we're doing the turns. And that, like I said, the percentage and the hassles that go along with the multifamily stuff, it was more than worth it to let them handle my sink's clogged or my toilet's clogged or my window's busted because my neighborhood sucks. Somebody kicked a window in. So we let them handle that stuff. But if it's going to be, I need to paint the whole house and I've got to put LVP in the whole house and I need to replace the tub, then I send my guys over to do that. And then they do that, and I give Kentucky Life a rent ready property for them to go take pictures and list and show and do the background checks and qualifications and all that stuff. So
yeah, that's good.
And that's been really good over in Frankfurt because we've been managed to get a lot of the hassle tenants that were just bouncing around from 4 or 5 or 6 different landlords, none of which that did background checks. Now everybody that's over there has had a background check and has had employment verification and that kind of stuff. And the same thing, AJ has got property management in place there, so It's
Yeah.
helped that neighborhood, I think, a lot. Getting some of the really bad riffraff out.
Yeah.
Yeah, except
That's
for
good.
one, everyone I turned over, like all the bad guys are gone. I mean, the one is not bad, but they have been there. That's it.
Yeah. There's a junker that lives next door to one of my units over there at 225. So you pull around to the back to the parking pad and you look over and it's like all the junk metal from the landings in this guy's backyard.
It's like Sanford and Son.
Sanford and Son, yeah. And then
I
I'm
don't
getting
know.
citations because I left the trash can out for 2 days, and I'm like, well, what about the guy that's stripping cars over here? It's like,
There might be people on this call too young for Sanford and Son.
Yeah. So, but yeah, our plan was to, I don't know if you knew, Jamie, I got fired in December. So I am.
Well, I didn't know you got fired, but I think I
Yeah.
saw you were leaving or something. What happened?
Yeah, I got fired. I don't know.
Why?
Because I basically quit working like 5 years ago. It just took them
Did
that
they
long to
catch?
find
Did
out,
they catch you on? Yeah. Did they catch you on the PVA or something?
Yeah.
Hey, you've been spending too much time on the Zillow and the PVA.
Right. Yeah. They had they laid off about 15 people in our company. We were strictly tied to the automotive industry.
Yeah.
And it was, it's been a nightmare for COVID. They shut the plants down and they're not moving parts. And that was a big part of our business. And then the company lost a couple of bids that were contract renewals. And they're just like, I had a couple of guy under me that was making half my salary and we were doing the same job.
Oh, wow.
I've been here 16 years and I make twice as much as this guy. Well, we need somebody to answer the phones and tell people to reboot. Let's pay this guy half of what we pay Joe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
so that's
corporate America, man.
Yeah. So they got rid of a bunch of people that had been there 15 plus years. And I think it was a culling of salary more than anything.
Yeah.
Including people that were at the VP level. Yeah, it was out of the blue. It was totally unexpected. I had intended to quit in March, and COVID hit. And it's like, the way I see it, I wrote out another 9 months of salary. So, and then I got a severance package. So, it was.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was not unhappy about getting fired. So, it was.
Yeah. You had a plan. You had a plan B.
Yeah. Well, the first time it happened was in 2000. I got shoulder tapped at Lexmark and their first round of layoffs ever. And I'm like, I'm done. This is never happening again. It's why we started buying real estate.
Yeah.
So it just took 19 years to make the plan come together fully. So
yeah,
I'm
good.
I'm done with corporate America.
It's nice to know that you don't have to work your day job.
Yeah. It's really weird though. Like I said, I've been grinding for so long at a W-2 job. It's like, what am I going to do? I still get up and come into the office and sit in the office, 8 o'clock in the morning. And it's like, I'm still surfing the same website.
It's like a retiree. Like, what are you supposed to do?
That's exactly right. You can't go anywhere. COVID's got everybody, scared to death. And it's the last few months has just been, it's kind of weird. So not having to be somewhere, 75% of your waking hours is just strange. So, but
Jim, how many people are on the Facebook? Did you have some more watchers?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of fluctuates. I mean, we probably hit a peak of about 15, and then there's like 6 right now on there. No, Vincent's been commenting a lot. He said he's looking for a single family, or looked at a single family in Frankfurt on Zillow, and he likes the price points on those. And I would probably agree with that. I mean, compared to like other central Kentucky cities, Georgetown, Lexington, obviously, even pushing toward Louisville and some of the nicer neighborhoods, you can find them in lower income west side of Louisville, might be a good price point for you, Vincent. But yeah, Frankfurt, I think, is a good middle of the road price point, multifamily or single family on that for your price to rent ratio is pretty solid, I think, overall. Who's the one in Frankfurt that you were helping, Jamie, that you said was getting in there?
Oh, Taylor Moody. Taylor, it's Christy's nephew.
Yeah. he
Christy's
reached
nephew,
out,
Taylor. Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, join the Frankfurt crew.
He's a great guy. Well, we are so like, Joe Ray likes the ones in Louisville, our property manager manages. The ones here, Joe manages. So I think that's also why he's gravitating toward Louisville. Because I'll be like, we have looked at a few things in Lexington, but then he's like, I really like the Louisville stuff because the prices are better and I don't have to manage it. I'm like, I see how we're working now. So, but I just feel like appreciation is so much faster in Lexington, but you got to get the deal. I mean, it's harder to get the deal, but the values are squeezed much tighter here and they're going to go up more. Where Louisville is just a little more, it's not a market that's going to go up because there doesn't seem to be the same housing shortage there, but we don't have trouble renting stuff there either. But it just doesn't seem like there's as much of a squeeze there as here. So
what areas of Louisville are good? I mean, at least like a B class.
So like South End, you do not. Yeah. So South End is what we like. Okay. So like around Churchill. Okay. It used to be real rougher around Churchill. And now it's more your B class. And actually there's a lot of rumors that Churchill is going to be expanding and stuff. So a lot of stuff around Churchill is getting more and more popular. You definitely don't want to be in that West End, that west of downtown, kind of over by the river, west side of downtown. There's some really, really dangerous areas, like a lot of murders, drugs, all that. So we usually stayed more south toward Watterson, around the Watterson and south of the Watterson, south of the airport or west of the airport, but south of Watterson, or just north of Watterson, but not so far that you're West End. Does that make sense? So stay out of West End. But we like the South End. Now East End is the high end area. Okay. East End, that's the money area. So I would say East End, I don't know that we really look there though that much because we're more in that sweet spot. We want to spend like, 50 to 70 to 80, and we're renting stuff for 8, 9, 1,000. We have some stuff that rents for 11 and 1,200 over there too. So I think that's why we end up like Shively, 40215, 40214, 4216 are the zip codes that we are primarily in.
Yeah, I looked at that Manslake area closer to the airport, and I drove a couple of streets on the other side, like, oh my God, no, this area, I'm not going to go.
There's a little bit of, we actually own a couple buildings right by the airport, the commercial buildings that we've owned for 15 years. But it's not, so the residential right there by, I'm not sure on Man's like which side that is. I think that's the other side. But we're actually on the west side of the airport. There's like some nice stuff in that 40215, 40216. And when I say nice, I mean like, stuff that's comparable to like Meadow Marcellus here, Meadow Marcellus Emerson. Just the great little 3-bedroom houses. I call them Archie Bunker. Just little blue collar houses that rent. So.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. I'm just looking into that area and see like, what is a good place. Shively, I drove through some of them. Areas are really good. Like you mentioned, east side is pretty good, and kind of northeast is also good. But those areas, something comes on the market and they're gone.
Yeah, east end and northeast. So that's going to be your higher end stuff, pretty much. I mean, I'm talking, the more expensive stuff. Like that's going to be more. You find a diamond in the rough and you flip it. Although you might be able to get a rental, but you're going to pay more. You're going to pay maybe 100, but you're going to be renting it for 1,300, 1,500, something like that. So we just kind of find our little bread and butter is that 50 to 70 rent between 8 and 1,000 type thing is what we kind of, you know.
Okay, got it. Thank you for
But
those
but
insights.
I mean, I don't think Easton's bad. You're just gonna pay more, but you're gonna get more rent too. So
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely stay out of that West End area because Louisville is like a top 10 murder city. I don't know if you know that, and it's because of the West End. So, and that's been going on for
Okay.
years. That's just not just this last year. That's been like the last 10 years. That area just gets very, very rough. So.
Okay, great.
That's where
But
all
I
their
think
vacant homes
Louisville
are
is
too.
strong. It's strong. Huh?
That's where all their
What?
vacant homes are too, on the west side.
Well, the thing is like with like on the West End, I mean, there are some beautiful homes. I mean, I'm talking like Ashland and Lexington, you know, some of those really beautiful homes. They're not quite that big, but they're those beautiful old Southern style, Victorian style homes that 60 years ago, when it was a safe neighborhood, were the bomb. And what's happened is that area's gone down, but the homes, the bones of the homes there's some really beautiful homes, but you know, you might get shot on your front porch. So it's kind of sad because there's some great architecture over there, actually.
Yeah, you should join the KREA or KREA up there,
Yeah.
AJ, if you want to look for Louisville stuff. I mean, that'd be the place to go.
Rick Boyd is the wholesaler over there.
Okay.
He moved, I think they're in like southern Indiana, but they
Yeah.
moved from Lexington, and he posts deals out if you're not on his mailing list. Most of them look like they're over in the West End, but sometimes some of them, I don't know anything about Louisville, but some of the houses, like Jamie said, look, I'm like, why is this house this cheap? You know? So
We actually bought maybe
So-
3 or
so the
4 from Rick. We actually 3 or 4 of what we bought in the last year were from Rick.
yeah. So like I said, he does have
Mhm.
other stuff in the area.
Yep.
He's somebody I wouldn't hesitate to do business with. So
He's
Joe,
good.
do you
I like
mind
working with him.
sharing the email or link or something?
yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Let me see if I can
Thanks,
find one
Joe.
of them. It's Maverick Investments, I think, is his company.
Yeah.
Is that right, Jamie? Is that
I don't know, he just sent something out today, and
yeah?
his
Clifton.
emails say Rick. It says from Rick
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, Rick at Maverick KY.
Yeah, we've gotten some great deals from him over in Louisville. I mean, we've been really happy, and he's really easy to work with. And
Yeah, you'd want to get with Rob Bergerson as well up there at Korea. So he kind of helps run a lot of the wholesalers up there, and they run a lot of deals through him as well. So you want to get on his mailer list. And I can shoot you like a DM with his contact and stuff, but he'd be a really good contact up there for Louisville as well for deals. He's also an agent too, so.
are they meeting in person yet, Jim? Do you
Okay.
know?
Yeah, they do like one at a restaurant type thing.
They've
But it's
been
not-
meeting since COVID.
Yeah, it's not as big as the regular meetings were. So like the regular Korea meetings, you know, you had a couple hundred people, and their meetings are kind of more at a restaurant now with capacity and stuff. I mean, they're still doing some, and they do like their leads one, I think is what it's called, the stuff that's on site. They do a couple of those and stuff, but they're still doing a big push on virtual meetings though.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to go to that meeting, but it's like, it's just hard to get to Louisville for me on a weeknight with kids, you know,
Yeah.
because I know those are really good meetings.
Yeah, I mean, they're the biggest, pretty much RIA almost in the whole country. They have the really good programs and stuff up there. So if you find one that you want to go to, it does cost a little bit of money. If you're not already a member, and if you are a member, it's a little bit of a reduced fee for each meeting and stuff. But I mean, they do have good, impactful meetings. I went to one up there, and they can have quite a big crowd, but at the end of the day too, I think we do pretty good down here, especially for free fitty. So on most of them.
Yeah, we don't we don't have any kind of membership fee, right? You know, and
Yeah.
they've definitely got, you know, fees going on.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
I did sign up.
It's just accounting, you know.
Yeah. I signed up and took that Media 101 training from Vina Jones Cox, and it was interesting. That was a couple $100 in 3 nights this past month here. I've got the videos and materials if anybody's interested in watching it. They're basically just trying to mobilize landlords to change the story in the media about how everybody is, you know, cancel rent and we want free housing and housing is a human right and all that stuff. So it was pretty good information.
Well, you know, I just read an article about guaranteed jobs from the government.
Yeah.
Like, so guaranteed jobs, guaranteed housing, and guaranteed income. Okay, and guaranteed health care. Like, who's paying for all this?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's when you give, I heard the other day, the thing about when the government gives something, they have to take from someone.
Yeah.
To give something to someone, they have to take from someone else.
Yep.
It just doesn't work.
That's the
paying
problem.
for it.
The problem with socialism is you eventually run out of other people's money. So,
Exactly.
So that's a little truism that is unfortunately a lot of people don't care to think about. So, and that's the other thing is the government doesn't have any money; they have our money. So if you think about that perspective, it's
well, what's scary is we have China's money. Evidently, I don't know.
Yeah.
We're borrowing it from someone.
No, we just print it. That's
We're just printing it.
That's the beautiful thing about American currency is, you know, it's not tied to anything. It's a fiat currency. It's like we need another $2 trillion. Is like change those ones and zeros. Now we got $2 trillion more, you know. So we've had some discussions with my wife about that the past couple of days. So
yeah, it's concerning.
She's we're looking at Ecuador as our exit strategy. So, you know.
Well, I hear Poland has a great democracy. That's what I told you guys. Supposedly Poland has a really nice democracy now.
Yeah, yeah. Lech Lewensa took care of that in the 80s, right? You know. If you would think your Sanford son call is going to call out some young people, let's see about that.
Vincent wants to know recommendations for a property manager in Louisville. And Vincent, I mean, there's several property managers up there. It kind of depends on what you're looking for. If it's short-term rental, larger commercial, or just like single family, multifamily, smaller multifamily. I would recommend probably Mike Butler's company, who wrote Landlording on Autopilot. That's Vista KY.
Yep.
I would probably recommend him for most things up there in Louisville. I mean, if you want to get more specific of different areas, I could probably pinpoint it a little bit more, but just in general, that would probably be a good one to start with. I mean, Jamie, you know of any property managers up there?
Yeah, I would go to the CREA too and look for a property manager with the CREA. Yeah. You know what I mean? Don't you think?
Yeah.
The CREA would have their CREA is really, really strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Butler was one of the first books we read when we started this, you know, like 19 years ago. He was an old Louisville cop, wasn't he? And that's his background was.
Oh, really?
I was like, yeah, he ticked all the buttons for me because I have a degree in police administration, and we stumbled across this guy in Louisville, Kentucky's book when we you know, went on a reading spree when we were trying to figure out if we could actually rent the house that we'd spent, you know, the past 2 years working on. And so, yeah, he's been around the block a few times and seems like he's got a pretty solid basis. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably where I would lean. I at least start there. And like Jamie said, you know, the CREA, you're going to get plenty of recommendations in there, and just really asking people that are local to Louisville and who they're managing and stuff. I know there's some smaller guys and stuff that would probably be really good if you wanted something more one-on-one, but I know Mike Butler's company is pretty large and would probably take on most things depending on where they are in Louisville. if you wanted like something larger, commercial and stuff like that, I mean, Denton Floyd is probably a good choice up in Louisville if he was doing like a larger apartment or something like that. But, you know, it just kind of depends on what you're looking to manage up there. Yeah. Anybody got anything else? Probably going to wrap it up here.
Yeah,
a little
probably a
bit.
good idea. I will say one last thing. I was on an eviction. I was on with Judge Murphy on Wednesday because we had an eviction. We really haven't had any evictions this past year, but knock on wood. But the one thing I learned from the call was, yes, they will not evict. She will not evict for non-payment of rent. But if you have something where they've broken the lease based on something else, or their lease is expired, those are things that still can be remedied with eviction. So for instance, someone who was supposed to have switched the utilities a year ago and still has not done that, and that's in your lease, that's something that's can be evicted for. Change the locks, which is in your lease, and did not notify landlord. So things that are non-payment of rent that have occurred, or she had people where the lease had expired, and you know, as long as you're working, telling the tenant you've got, you know, the 30 days to move out or whatever after the expiration. So those are things that it was just kind of a learning for me, and we're definitely going to move to more of a, we're not going to auto renew our leases anymore, you know, and month to month or shorter term leases may be a good solution as well during this COVID period.
That's
until
what
we know, you know.
We had a discussion with our property management company that's what we want is renewals or extensions or new leases from this point until COVID clears, or month to month. So
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I mean, it was, you know, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and that's been kind of par for the course, I think, through most of it. And Jamie, definitely wanted to thank you for having the investing in self-directed IRAs meeting last week too. I got a lot of positive feedback from that. I don't know if anybody reached out to you
good.
As well, but I think that was a pretty good meeting. And I want to thank everybody for coming on for the discussion and the happy hour event. I know we're going to have a quick turnaround for the one on the 1st, Monday at noon, with the SBA, EIDL, and PPP programs. I definitely recommend anyone watching here to come on to that. We do have another presentation, much like the self-directed IRA. That's more of a PowerPoint presentation, and we're going to break down the EIDL and PPP programs specifically straight from the SBA. And I've already seen a preview of the presentation. It's going to be very good. And also a lot of changes with the PPP program coming down here. I think probably even tomorrow. So I know the presentation, it was going to be changed slightly to qualify with that, but it's really interesting. It's something that I recommend everybody attending, because who doesn't like free money? And also Jennifer from Just in Time Bookkeeping LLC will be on to answer your more specific questions with those as well. Since working for the government, he said he can't answer any specific questions. He can only present facts on the program and won't give any other feedback. So I did have Jennifer come on if anybody had any specific things that dealt with their own personal business or any other questions beyond what he can present. But I definitely recommend everybody coming on for that. So as another reminder, that's going to be a quick turnaround time. I'm not going to be able to have this replay up for very long because we got to move on to the next one. And then the next meeting after that, we'll see kind of how that goes. I do have a couple people in the works, but I'm sure Jamie, we'll talk about where things are with the vaccinations and restrictions and stuff like that. And we'll kind of play it by ear, folks. But definitely come on for Monday at noon, understanding EIDL and the PPP program. So,
thanks, Jim. I appreciate you hosting these events.
Yeah,
so
no problem.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Okay, appreciate it. And I'll try to get on Monday if I can.
Okay. There'll be a
Okay.
replay though, folks.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
All right.
Thanks, Jim. Good to
Bye.
see
See
you,
you guys.
Joe.
See you, AJ.
Have a good one.
Thanks, Jamie, for those inputs. Jeffrey.